the screams of people who are dying. The sound of ZOG on soldiers could be heard all over the bloody battlefield as human marines wiped out their enemies quickly and mercilessly. Vought, a strict diplomat who revealed the real reason the Galactic Council kept humans out of interstellar wars, ran through the busy spaceport on the Council's capital planet. In the crowded terminal, he had to get an important message across about the war between the Draconian Empire and ZOG on the Confederacy. He ran into Jake Adams, a grizzled human veteran who was taking a bus to the front lines even though humans weren't allowed to be soldiers. Jake's mysterious last words made people in the council chambers nervous. Voters told each other about terrible losses and the need for help. There was a heated argument about lifting the ban on humans. Some said it was because people are unpredictable and violent. Others said that humans had to get involved to stop the Goggins from killing everyone, which was seen as harsh. This choice was very important for Trillion's survival. People who voted wondered why Earth was kicked off the galactic stage. He knew that his people didn't have much time left. 200 years ago, when the Sorghum Drunkenness War was at its worst, the Galactic Council chambers were full of heated arguments. There was no sign of an end to the war, which had been going on for too long. Both sides lost more and more people as the war spread to other star systems. At the very end, they tried to end the war. The Council voted to end the long-standing rule that humans couldn't get involved in other planets' business. Earth was sent a message asking for help, pleading with people to send their best soldiers to help with the terrible war effort. People from Earth, who had been waiting a long time to show what they could do on the galactic stage, responded with great excitement. A group of their best warriors, led by Commander Ezra Stone, was quickly put together and sent to the front lines. Stone, a soldier who had been through a lot of battles and was known for using unusual strategies, was determined to show the galaxy what humans could do. When Commander Stone and his team got to the harsh forward operating base, they were greeted by General Taraki. General Taraki was an old, rough veteran with a no-nonsense attitude who looked down on humans with skepticism and barely concealed disdain. Terrell spoke in a low voice, "Commander Stone, I hope that your soldiers are ready for what's coming. People who are new to war or weak at heart should not join this one." Stone didn't move when the general looked at him. "I promise you," General Tetrox sighed, "that my team is more than capable. Even though this is our first time in a war, we are used to it. We will not only do what you expect, but even more." Have the human soldiers become part of the cruel forces? They quickly learned how to use the new technology and showed how useful they were in small battles against Zeogeon raiders. Stone led his team with both tactical brilliance and raw courage, which earned them the respect of their harsh allies. But the real test of how strong humans were came when their organs launched a huge attack on a key harsh colony world. With more people and more weapons, the Zoran forces pushed the Draconian back to their last line of defense. The Draconian was trying very hard to turn the tide of the battle, but looked like they were about to lose badly. General Taraki told Commander Stone and his team to attack the Zeogeon command ship in a brave way. People were the only ones with the technology and guts to pull it off, even though it was a risky move. With prototype human weapons and stealth technology, Stone and his team were able to sneak onto the ZOG ship without being seen. They went to the bridge and faced Admiral Zorsaxa, the leader of the ZOG. He was very tall and had very sharp claws and a mean smile. Sneered and looked down at the humans. "Terrible creatures." He laughed. "Do you dare to fight me on my own ship?" Commander Stone took a step forward. The Admiral was in the line of his weapon. "We're here to end this war. Give up now, and we can stop the fighting." The Tsar laughed. "Not a nice greeting. I think it sounds like giving up to a group of hairless apes." Not with a roar or by charging at Stone with his claws outstretched. Stone charged at him straight on, dodging the Admiral's blows as he hit back with a series of precise blows. The two leaders got into a fierce fight and hit each other across the bridge. In the end, Stone emerged victorious with the final blow that sealed the deal. He hit ZOG so hard that he fell to the ground unconscious. When the rest of the Gorgon Bridge crew saw that their leader had been defeated, they quickly gave up. The ZOG armed forces on the colony whirled through chaos into chaos when they lost their command ship. The Draconian took advantage of the situation and launched a devastating counterattack, pushing the organs back and ultimately winning the battle. News of how important the humans were in turning the tide of the battle spread like wildfire across the galaxy. People from races that used to think humans were weak and didn't matter now saw them in a different light. There was no doubt that the humans were a strong force. Voters were hunched over his desk, which was full of data pads and holographic displays. He looked at the classified documents he had found while the soft glow of the screens lit up his freckled face. As he dug deeper into the archives, he couldn't stop thinking about the questions he had about the humans' role in the war between the ZOG and Dracula. Soon after the humans won the first battle, a disturbing pattern started to show up in the others. It was scary to see how the harsh forces had changed. The brave warriors who followed the galactic rules of war were gone. Instead of them, there were soldiers who were cruel and heartless. Horrible things were said from the front lines. Once known for their restraint, draconian troops now used illegal weapons that caused unimaginable pain. Attacks on civilian populations that had not been allowed before became random. ZOG says that prisoners who should have been treated with respect were abused and tortured. As he found more proof that the humans, especially Commander Stone and his team, had actively encouraged and taken part in these horrible crimes, voters became more uneasy. Soldiers who were once praised for turning the tide of the war were now being charged with war crimes. As the battle went on, the Draconians started to rely more on the human strategies, adopting their aggressive ways without caring about the results. Victory after victory was won, but it cost a lot. The Draconian Empire was once a symbol of honor and justice, but it became known for being cruel and violent. Voters leaned back in his chair, shocked by what he had just learned. He had always been curious about why the Galactic Council had decided to keep humans out of future wars. But now he knew that the humans had tainted their drunkenness and sent them down a dark and twisty path. Wrists were drawn to a blinking light on one of the data pads. The file was deeply encrypted and buried in the archives, its claws shaking. When he opened the file, he saw a recording of a conversation between General Tedros and Commander Stone. Voters watched as Stone leaned in close to scare them as the holographic figures came to life. His voice was low and rough. "General, the organs are on the move. Now is the time to launch a strong attack. We need to completely destroy them and wipe them off the face of the galaxy. It's the only way to make peace last." Turok moved in an awkward way, and his scales rippled with unease. "Officer, what you want us to do goes against everything we believe in. It's murder." Stone's eyes got smaller. "That's what needs to be done. The organs will keep fighting until we get rid of them." All of them were carrying heavy tetroxide, and their shoulders were slouched. "I will think about your idea, Commander, but I have some concerns." Voters were shocked when the recording ended all of a sudden. What that meant was shocking. The whole ZOG and race could have been wiped out if Stone had been able to get her rocks to agree to the plan. Voros knew he had to keep going. He had to work even harder to find out the whole truth about what humans did during the war. He started to make a list of the Stone's team members who were still alive and do some general tasks himself. He would find them one by one and put together what had happened while he worked. He kept having a thought in the back of his mind. If people were able to do such horrible things in the past, what would happen if they were allowed to get involved in the current conflict? It was more important than ever, and voters were afraid that the same thing would happen again. Voters got out of his shuttle and walked out onto the planet's dusty surface. He looked around at the empty land. He used the coordinates he had gotten to find this empty world where Lieutenant Marcus Reed had chosen to hide from his past. Voters walked up to the small, plain house that was the only sign of civilization. He knocked on the door from the empty land, the sound of metal resonating in the silence. After a long time, the door finally creaked open, revealing a sad face. Reed's. When he saw Votter's harsh features, his eyes grew wide, and he quickly tried to slam the door shut. He got his foot stuck in the doorway by volunteers. "Officer Reed, wait. I'm not here to hurt you. I need to talk to you about the war between ZOG and Draconian." Reed hesitated, and his nervous eyes kept darting around. "It's not clear to me what you mean. Please don't bother me." For those who kept hearing his voice, firm but calm, "It took me a long time to find you. I know you were on the team with Commander Stone. I need to know the exact events that took place during the war." Reed's shoulders sagged, and he stepped aside to let the voters in. The small house was empty, with only the bare necessities inside. Reed waved for people to sit down at a shaky table. "Why do you need to know about the war?" Reed asked, and his voice was tired. "It's very old history." Voros leaned in closer and looked right into Reed's eyes. "Because I think the truth has been buried for too long," he said. "There is evidence that the humans did some bad things during the war that I have found." Reed laughed in a mean way. "Honorable? Not at all. Something bad was going on with what we did." It was like he was getting ready to face the demons from his past by taking a deep breath. The Earth government didn't give orders to Commander Stone's team to do what they did. We were a part of a bad group in the military. A bunch of people called humanity first. They thought that people should rule the galaxy no matter what. Voters paid close attention as Reed talked about how he and his fellow soldiers were brainwashed by constant propaganda and talk about how superior humans are. It looked like Stone was one of the movement's biggest fans. As the battle went on, we began to do missions that were outside the normal scope of military operations. Reed admitted it, and his voice shook. We used biological weapons against us or Gon colonies, which killed off whole groups of people. We destroyed civilian targets to show that humans were in charge. Voters got a chill down their spines when they heard the news and were generally scared. What did he know about these horrible crimes? Reed turned his head away. I don't think he knew everything about it, but he must have thought we were making progress, because that was all that mattered to him. Why did you leave? Voters asked, and his voice got softer. I was no longer able to live with myself. Reed said that his eyes were haunted. Every day I think about the bad things we did. I stopped working with the team and hid. I was scared that either people on Earth or the galactic authorities would find me. Helpers reached out and put their hand on Reed's shoulder. Thanks for letting me know this. It couldn't have been easy, I know. With this new information, voters went to talk to General Tedros. He followed the retired general to a harsh outpost in the middle of nowhere, where Taraki had hidden himself after the war. Tarek was seen by voters sitting in a dark room and gazing up at the stars. He made himself known by clearing his throat. Tarbox looked around with wide eyes in shock. Voters, why are you in this forgotten part of the galaxy? Vote. He moved forward. His face looked grim. I know about the horrible things people did during the war, General. This is what I said to Lieutenant Reed. His face turned pale, and he sagged in his chair. He said, I had my doubts about Stone and his team. His voice was heavy with regret, but I chose not to pay attention. There was a lot of pressure to win the war, and I told myself that the ends were more important than the means. Voters showed the evidence he had gathered, which showed all of the things people had done. As Tarbox listened, his face became more and more haunted. When the war was over, I learned how bad things really were. Tarbox admitted that the guilt was too much to bear. I gave the Galactic Council secret proof of the war crimes that led to the ban on humans taking part in galactic conflicts. Volta nodded as he realized what was being said. The ban wasn't just meant to stop people from being violent, was it? It was about keeping the galaxy safe from the effects of radical groups in human society. Terrorism that surrounds gay people. His eyes were very sad. Yes, we couldn't let that happen again. Vadas stood there, his mind racing with all the things that what he had learned meant. He knew he had to tell the Galactic Council what he had found, so that everyone would know the truth about what humans did in the Gorgon-Draconian War. With every step he took away from the outpost, Vadas was sure that this was only the start. The galaxy was about to start a new war, and the choices that were made in the next few days would have a big impact on General Jones's life. Voros paced back and forth in his room, his mind racing with all the evidence he had gathered. He felt like the real extent of what humans did during the Zog-Andra Drunkenness War was heavy on his shoulders. He was sure that telling the Galactic Council this would be a big moment not only for himself but for the whole galaxy. He was thinking when there was a sudden knock at the door. When Vadas opened it, Jake Adams was standing there still wearing his military clothes. Let's talk, Adams said with a fast, low voice. Vadas moved out of the way so Adams could come in. Why are you here, soldier? He looked at the person tiredly and asked. Adams took a big breath. I'm not just a soldier. As a member of a secret group in the human military, my job is to reveal the truth about the Humanity First movement and the horrible things they did during the war vortex. His eyes got bigger. Do you mean you've also been looking into this? Adams gave a nod. Our whole team has been working hard to find proof that will reveal the truth. Now that you know what you've found, we think it's time for the galaxy to know. They spent hours going over all the evidence together and putting together a very bad picture of what the humanity first movement did. The use of illegal weapons, the targeting of civilians, and the mistreatment of prisoners. As they stood in front of the Galactic Council, everything was made clear. People in the room could feel the tension. People from a huge number of different worlds watched as he and Adams shared their findings. The evidence could not be argued with. There was chaos in the council chambers. Representatives yelled at each other. Some were angry about what humans were doing. Others are calling for an immediate reevaluation of the rule that says humans can't get involved in galactic affairs. A shocking event happened. The Earth government, which knew what was going on, publicly acknowledged what the Humanity First movement had done. The president of Earth spoke to the council. She said in a heavy, sorry voice, "We take full responsibility for the horrible things that happened during the war. We promise to take action right away against the Humanity First movement's remnants and to make sure that something like this never happens again." The council went silent, shocked by what was said. What was seen as the representatives argued among themselves, comparing what the Earth government said with the evidence that was given. The council made a choice in the end. The council spokesperson said, "We believe it is necessary to maintain the ban on human involvement in galactic conflicts." They said they appreciated the Earth government's action. Extremists in society need to be faced and dealt with by all of humanity. Before being allowed to take part in galactic affairs again, people had a range of feelings as he left the council chambers. Feeling let down? Of course, but I also get it. There were deep wounds from the war that he knew would be hard to heal. Adams walked up to him and put his hand on his shoulder. He told her thank you for everything she had done to reveal the truth. What? He looked him in the eye. What are you going to do? Carry on the fight? Adams replied with a clear look in his eye. We're not going to stop until the Humanity First movement is crushed and no longer has any power. Adams couldn't help but think about the long road ahead as people watched him walk away. The dragon and the ZOG. For a long time, people would hurt and not trust each other because of this war. He never gave up hope, though, that one day humans and the other races in the galaxy would learn from the past and find a way to work together in peace. The story is now over. Please leave a link and subscribe to our channel if you like this story and want to help us out. And I will heart every comment that says 88. Thanks for your time.